Shemai everyone, how are you all? I thought I would do an updated craft room tour because for the first time in ages, my room's actually tidy. So to give you an idea of where we are in the house, we are on the top level of the house. So here are the stairs coming up to it. And it is a 4-storey house. This then is our cinema room, we call it, with a stunning view. As you can see, my vinyl for my bag making is just over the side of the settee. I haven't got that view in my craft room. I have mainly got a view of what will eventually be our garden, but it's actually a load of mud and weeds. So my room is about 4.5 metres squared. And the nice thing is, because I am in the loft, I've got the 2 big skylights. This room doesn't have any direct sunlight in the day, which is good for my papers. But I think without the skylights, it might be a little bit dark. So here we go. I'm just coming in and closing the door. I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. The main cabinets around here are actually a Howden's kitchen. It was a Howden's flat-packed kitchen that we put together. It was a much cheaper way of doing it than just buying the IKEA sort of furniture that lots of people have in craft rooms. So this is then, I suppose, my IKEA side of things. I'm trying to move slowly so I don't make you dizzy. And there's my Welsh dresser. My Welsh dresser came from my late parents' house. I've grown up with this Welsh dresser, not in this state. It was like the orange pine, but we upcycled it. This is my favourite part of the room. This is my craft island that my husband designed and made for me. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to start in the corner and just sort of work my way around and show you how I'm storing things. This little hoover gets used quite a lot actually, because if I thought card and paper made a lot of dust, fabric was just there saying, hold my beer. Let me show you how much dust I create. So I've got, as you can see, a variety of drawers and cupboards. And then I've got these little top cupboards going into the slope of the ceiling. Compared to my last loft room where I couldn't stand up in, these ceilings are 3 metres high. So at least they're nice and airy. So in here I've got like Christmas embellishments, different albums then. A lot of them are like the December daily albums, ready to be used. I didn't do a December daily last year. I don't know whether I will this year either, because at the moment I am out of scrapbooking. I'm out of love with scrapbooking. I've lost my mojo completely. This one then, these little bins are fantastic. These are from Home Bargains, and then they all stack on top of each other. So they're good for your little pots of bits and bobs, so you can keep them all together. I have been having a bit of a declutter, because some things I just haven't used. Oops, sorry, I need to drop the camera. Here's my Tim Holtz ink pads. My husband built this storage unit for me. It's actually double-sided, so I've got the inks on both sides. I keep my oxides in the one and the distressed inks in the other. So this cupboard is just underneath then. The good thing is, with having a kitchen, is that I've got the kitchen counter. There's my pro markers that I don't use very often, I must be honest. My vinyl, anything that I use then for my Cricut and my silhouette. And I've also got some page protectors all in one box together. My iron, which is getting an awful lot of use lately. I didn't realise, I don't think, when I started sewing, is how much ironing I'd be doing. Now this, on the top, is a fab protector. When I ordered, I'm just moving on gently, this rhino cutting mat for my craft island, and it's got the measurements underneath it, which mean nothing actually, because I don't cut on it, because this was quite expensive to buy. Cutting mats are not. They sent me, they cut it to size, and any offcuts, because you had to have it a certain measurement, any offcuts they sent you. So Lee chopped it down the middle just to protect my kitchen counter. This drawer is full of embossing inks and embossing guns. Not embossing guns, heat guns, sorry. Did I say embossing inks? Embossing powders. Then this one is my mixed media drawer. As I say, I've gone through this quite a lot lately. I had so many things that totally dried up that I tried rescuing, and in the end, you think, just get rid. Then the bottom drawer here, full of ribbons. I bought a lot of these ribbons for card making. I do use them on cards, but I tend to be using them more with sewing and when I make my little felt ornaments. I've really fallen headlong into the sewing. So there's my telly. I tend to watch lots and lots of crafting videos or programs like Outlander that Lee, there's no way Lee would ever want to watch them. So I watch them up here. It keeps him happy and it keeps me happy. My Making Memories boards. This is another obsession of mine, which is sort of not died a death, but I don't do so much of it at the moment. I need to make up a pile actually. Yeah, my seals, which I really enjoy making them, but I tend to do them in bulk. So I'll get all the stuff out, make a big pile, put it away, forget about it for a few months. That's how I work. So these ones then, I think I need to go through this drawer. There's a lot in here I won't use. These are card making, scrapbooking, embellishments. These I found the other day, something my mum had bought. They're the snaps for crackers, because obviously I'm going to be making my own crackers every single year, aren't I? Then this one, these little boxes come out of the big clear storage boxes where I've got them all in one place. Before I used to have to go through them all to find what I wanted. Again, this drawer isn't having much use at the moment. But as Lee said to me, are you giving up scrapbooking and card making? Absolutely not. I'm just having a little break for now. So I've got a little pile of cutting mats here. When I'm cutting my fabric, then I tend to use on my big table, but I'm not cutting into the cutting mat that's on there. So there we go. I know it's quite old-fashioned really to have a stereo, but I've got so many CDs that I like to listen to, and my DVD player. Again, I've got loads of DVDs. These days, though, everything you want to watch, it tends to be on Prime and all the rest of it, and Disney. And is my Sizzix cutting dies, because this is my cutting area. Again, I could do with going through those. I think I'll be saying that as I go through, actually. There's She Who Shall Not Be Named. Everything in the house, all the lights are automated. So you've just got to give her the command and she puts the light on and off. However, I can never remember, because I've got 3 strip lights in my room, I can never remember which one's which, so I tend to get up and just walk over. At least I'm getting my steps in. This corner cupboard holds all, can you remember these? The Cricut cutting, what are they called? Things. And then the overlays. I've still got the old Cricut Expression, so I do still use them. They're really handy for making lettering for school. That's what I keep my tote bag for when I go on retreats or crops. And around this room is nice because I can actually put things that I've made. So that was my sister and my nephew when he was very little. For some reason it isn't focusing. I don't know what's going on with this camera. So this is my electronic cutting area. As you can see, I've got the Cricut Explore one, which was my late mum's. My Cricut Expression, that, I can remember having that and thinking it was the most incredible thing ever. I've got the Cameo 3 and the Cameo 2, the silhouette, not the Cameo. I've got them both connected at the moment because some things that I've cut previously, I've got the settings for my old silhouette in there, and it doesn't work so well on the new silhouette, so I've just kept that. There's my Gemini Junior. I then bought the big Sizzix switch. which is fab. I must say, it cuts things really well. But I didn't get rid of my big shot, which I was planning to, because when I cut things out to felt, because the cutting plate is so expensive on the Sizzix switch, I still use my old big shot. So this cupboard then is full of like the Western boxes and the art bin storage with scrapbook and supplies. This old cutting mat up here is actually the mat I put down to put my dog's drinking bowl on, so she doesn't wet all my floor. Now this cupboard is is an absolute mess actually, but it's got crushed walnut shells for when I make pin cushions, styrofoam bowls for when I make ornaments, and it's got lots and lots of spare storage items like little boxes. Now every house on every room needs a junk drawer. I think I've got 3. This one is okay, I suppose. Charging wires, batteries, all that sort of paraphernalia. Staplers. How have I got so many staples? And staplers. This one's a little bit more organised. Inks for a printer that's no longer set up, but I've still got. I don't like to get rid of it because I've got so many inks left. And I'll just flash that one. Yeah, that is a mess. So, here we go. There's my computer desk. And I can remember when I showed a video when I was setting the room up, somebody said, oh, you're going to have awful trouble with your computer because it's near your radiator. However, this house has got an air source heat pump. So even though the house gets really, really warm, the radiators never get very hot. They're warm rather than hot. Then I've got my collection of Russian dolls. I love Russian dolls. There's my printer. I've now got a fridge. This fridge was originally going to go in the cinema room, but Lee thought it was quite noisy. And it is quite handy because I've got a kettle in here just to have a little pint of milk in there. I'm just going to try and... It seems to be focusing in and out all the time. So there we go. So this is an old IKEA filing cabinet. I'm just going to try and swap places. And it used to keep all my punches in it. But since I've got really, really back into cross stitch, like not just a little bit, but head over heels again. I used to cross stitch years and years ago. I've now got the pip and chip in. No, that's wrong. Pip and chip bobbins. And Lee 3D printed me these little inlays to fit this drawer, so I keep all my cross stitch threads in there. I have got the full collection DMC. I had the full collection years ago when I had kept them, and there were just a few colours then that they'd sort of brought out when I wasn't cross stitching, so I've just updated that. These drawers then down the bottom are sewing patterns and just like a portfolio full of cut-up patterns. When I say sewing patterns, not clothes. I would love to progress to that, but I think that's a long way off yet. So there's my little tea making area. Oh, there we go. Now this cupboard, I'm sorry that I think the light off the glossy cabinet is upsetting the camera at the moment. As you can see, it's full of glue and double-sided tape. This one hasn't got a stay on it, so I'll have to hold it up. I never ever use them, so I wonder whether I just need to be ruthless and get rid. That's the great thing about this room. I've got a sink. So these are all my they're my overflow DMC threads. So at the top, I've got cross stitch patterns. These ones then are all my overflow DMC. I bobbinate mine, but then there might be some that are not. I also had a huge box from when I was doing lots of kits of all extra floss. So I've added those to those. And there's my old DMC, my old anchor. I'm holding on to those because I use them for my felt ornaments. I just quickly flash this cupboard. What a mess. Under the sink cupboards are always difficult, aren't they, I find. So up here, we've got all my zips. I've started making project bags for cross stitch. So obviously then you need every zip in every colour to add to the bags. These are Stampin' Up dies. If they've got a matching stamp set, then I store them with a stamp set. These are the ones that are either there's too many in the pack to fit in the stamp set case, or they go with a couple of stamp sets. There's my embossing folders. There's my Stamper Artist. Extra dies there. I've got thickers. Again, I need to thin the thickers out, I think. Thin the thickers out because I don't use that many anymore. I've got stickers for scrapbooking, letter ones, more stickers, Project Life. That was another rabbit hole I went head first down. I don't do it anymore, but I have got some of the cards. I wonder why I'm keeping them because I don't seem to use them. Extra double-sided tape. That's another thing I seem to have a plethora of. This is what I love. I love this Kallax with all the colours of cardstock. Lee and I made these cardstock holders out of foam board. That was great fun, let me tell you, because he cut them all on his router table. Because they do say you can do with a Stanley knife. I don't know how many blades you go through. Then we used like a spray adhesive and did that. All my 12 by 12 then in Totally Tiffany containers. My scrapbook collections and scrapbook keepers. And then up here, this one contains all my Ada and my Nerd hoops. This one contains cross-stitch kits. Sewing items, all felt. And this one is like this felt that I've got for a special occasion, styrofoam balls that I use to make ornaments. That's a little bit of a hodgepodge there. And this is a new development because down here I've got my word, what they call trimmers, etc. 6x6 papers, but I didn't have this set up before. I have got my Christmas fabric. Then I've been reorganising these. Lots of them are fat quarters. However, I have been going through, if I've cut something up and I've got a bit of fabric left, I've been cutting them up into charm squares. Again, fat quarters, more fat quarters. In the eaves, luckily enough, I've got storage in the eaves, which runs the length of the house. I've got my longer than fat quarter, longer than half metre, wrapped on comic boards in boxes according to their colour. Most of the fabric that's in there I inherited from my mum. These are all the project bags I've made with my cross-stitch projects in. So I'm just going to go down now and show you the cupboards. So here we go. So you didn't hear my knees creak. I just paused the film in for a little bit. Funky foam. I tend to use those to back photos for my scrapbooking because it's cheaper than buying the dimensionals all the time. This is all full of, I've got sequins and brads up here and Christmas cards ready made up. So as you can see then with my fabric here, or let's see, all my Christmas scraps, larger scraps of fabric, but they're still really usable. Anything that I could, with like children's patterns on. And I belong to the Stitchy sewing subscription kits. So that's any offcuts of fabric there. Box of cards in different categories, all my birthday cards. As you can see, the fat quarter obsession is well and truly on in this house. there's all my interfacing. And then this one then, washi tape and journaling cards, candles for the wax seals that I very rarely do. So we've got around now to the Billy bookcases. And again, I've got artwork at the top. I've got some 49 Market albums I've made up. Mixed media, stickles, sprays, Stampin' Up inks and pens, my blends. These are offcuts of cards sorted by colour. So instead of using a full sheet, if I'm sort of looking for a little piece of card, I go there instead of cutting into full pieces. Not that I am going to have full pieces, but you know, trying to use them up. Wooden stamps there, blending brushes. These are all my 12 by 12 designer series paper from Stampin' Up. I am no longer a demonstrator with Stampin' Up, only because I'm not using my stuff. This side are all my Christmas stamps and dies, and then the other ones are all my general ones. Christmas punches down the bottom. And I have got a little system, if you can see, sorry if I'm swinging you about, if you can see here, I've got all little coloured dots. And then I've got a little colour code then. So if it's a masculine set, it's got a bright green dot. If they're birthday, they're gold. So they've all got dots on, apart from these that I need to do. If they've got a die set that goes with them, they've got a silver dot with them. So there we go. There's my labeler. I love my labeler. Now, I've got 3 of these Hobbycraft carts. I bought the Hobbycraft ones because they were cheaper than the IKEA ones. This is my paper crafting one. So it's got all the tools I use when I'm paper crafting. These are my most frequently used shape dies and dies that don't sort of necessarily fit into the stamp sets, like more generic dies, extra tape. And my Welsh dresser, Lee thought when we bought it over there I was going to use it for storage, but I didn't. It is more a tribute to family members I've lost. So I've got books from my grandmother, my dad's cameras, my sister's thimbles, my nan's cookie jar, crystal jar, my mum's cake stand, my mum's other cake stand, and some photos then. So I tend to mix those out. I've also got some crafting. These are the ornaments I've been making. I need to finish this one off. So he's got his hanging loop. There's some other ones up there then. So I'm just going to bring you around to my desk. So when we were planning this room, Lee said, "What's the things you want?" And I wanted a sink and I wanted a big space that friends could come and craft with me. And he designed this table, and they're designed around these 3 shelf little units, which were actually from Argos. And he built a frame. These desktops are the same as this one here. They are from IKEA. I think they're Lag Captain or something. They're actually hollow inside, but he did cut them down and he managed to sort of glue them back together and do some, you know, magic with them. So that's what I set. As you can see, looks like the command centre with my lamps either side for my cross stitching. I've got my most used tools then on there. Then on this side, I've got the tools, my quilting rulers. I say quilting rulers, that's the name of them. That's not because I quilt. My rotary cutter. So I tend to do my cutting here, which is slightly the wrong height, but it doesn't usually look this tidy. And even though this is a perfect height for doing it, this has usually got an ironing board in front of it, so I can't always get to that. But I need to do it more often, I think, because sometimes I do get a bit of a bad back. Then This was my mum's machine, the Atelier 5, and I think she would be delighted with the fact that it's being used on a daily basis at the moment. So this is my sewing cart then. I've made a few of these fabric baskets. They hold my clover clips. These are all my regularly used tools for sewing thread. And I know somebody said, oh, you're going to lose the colour on them, but because where it's usually kept, I've moved it around slightly. There's never ever direct sunlight on it. And then my sewing box at the moment, in the corner. And then this one then, it's got the bigger clover clips. And the little pencil case has got all the tools I take when I go on a sewing sort of day. So here is my desk. So as you can see, I'm central to my telly then. There's my tablet because I use Pattern Keeper. Pattern Keeper and all those, they weren't a thing. Oh, the other thing I've got on the front, my needle minders, they're nice and handy then. I don't think I showed you this drawer set. This one over here is my sewing drawer set. Not every drawer is tidy, I'll just warn you. So there's extra threads that didn't fit on the spool thing because it didn't actually hold that many. I'm awful sorry about, the sun has really decided to shine in now. So I'm sorry about the lighting. You can't win. It's either grey in this country. Oh, there we go. Let's see if that's a bit better. For making pom-poms. I made them in school with the children. That's why I've got so many. Random tools. We've got key rings and things for my project bags. Do you think I got enough safety pins? I think safety pins were one of those things that my mum used to buy without realising she already had 12 packs. There we go. And this one then is a bit of a mess, but I can actually find things. These are offcuts of felt from when I make my Christmas ornaments. These are little patterns for my Christmas ornaments. I've decided to try to learn to crochet. I just can't understand what to do with my hands. I don't know whether that's because I'm left-handed or just a bit daft. So there we go, we've come to everything now. This, as you can imagine, is my most favourite room in the house. I just love being up here. It is so calming. After doing a really stressful day, I say to Leah, I'm just going to my craft room for a bit. And then I totally lose track of time. And see him about 3 hours later and I realise I haven't cooked tea. So, thank you so much for joining me on my craft room tour. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I haven't made you dizzy. It gives me a greater respect for anyone who walks around with a camera on their shoulder, because I don't think that'd be the job for me. As I say, these little carts are marvellous because you can just, if I'm card making or scrapbooking or paper crafting, I just wheel that one over and wheel that one out the way. When I'm looking for threads, I just wheel the one out from underneath the unit by the sink. So there we go. I think craft rooms are always evolving. I also think that organising is a totally separate hobby to crafting. And I think I enjoy it sometimes just as much. So as I say, thank you for joining me. I'm just going to give you another view of our stunning garden. Yeah, I don't think we're ready to put a deck chair out there yet. Thank you everyone. Take care. Hwyl fawr.